So welcome everybody. Can't believe it's Friday already. This week has gone incredibly quickly. But welcome to this week's Transforming Care report out. We know that we're good to go at Shrewsbury, so I'll introduce myself properly for anybody who's not met me. I'm Cathy Smith. I'm KPO lead for the Trust, which is Kaizen Promotion Office. And I think many of you are getting used to a little bit of Japanese now, that Kaizen means continuous improvement. And that's something for us to really hold on to when you hear about today's, the work that's been happening during the week for the ED department. This is a continuation of the improvements they've been trying to make for many years, but very much a moment of fast forwarding, and they're going to hold on to these improvements they've made this week, but they will need nurturing. As any good gardener knows, you've got to keep feeding and watering our plants to see them flourish, and improvement is no different. So as a KPO team, Kaizen Promotion Office team, when I say we have Yvonne, Carla, Nick, myself, and over at Shrewsbury, hopefully waving, we've got Richard, Rachel and Marie-Claire, and Louise is over at Shrewsbury or in the room? In the room, at the back. Being very quiet today. Thank you, Louise. And it's our job to help translate the Japanese lean improvement methods that have been taken by Virginia Mason Hospital and the Virginia Mason Institute in Seattle into healthcare. They've been tried and tested now for around about 15 years in healthcare, so that we know that they work. And we now have the job of taking those from our American colleagues and making them suitable for our English ways, and particularly for staff here in Shropshire. So our work continues to evolve as well. So our production system is underpinned by the concepts from the world-class management system, the philosophy of respect, and the lean tools, so much more than just a set of tools. And our focus and methodology during the RPIW, Rapid Process Improvement Week, helps take those small ideas and turns them into a process for improvement. We want our processes to continually evolve and continually get fitter and fitter for our patients and for our staff. We now have 4 active value streams: respiratory discharge, sepsis, recruitment, and outpatients ophthalmology. And the steering groups, the value stream sponsor teams, those value streams continue to lead that work, and you'll be hearing in future of the next RPIW work that's taking all of those streams forward. But today you're going to hear about something slightly different. We as a team responded to a request to support the ED team in trying this methodology outside at the moment of a value stream to see whether it could work just as well. So I'm not going to share how well it worked. I'm going to let the team do that. So as well as our value streams, we continue to support our staff using the 5S tools. So listen particularly to Lara and Natasha this afternoon as they share how that's had an impact in their area. And you may want to speak to our team through Rachel, Yvonne and Carla about how they've been supporting other areas. So we're aiming to have 5S methodology in at least 50 areas by the end of the financial year, and we're well on course to do that. So this afternoon we'll conclude with comments from Debbie Cadden, but for now I'll step into my workshop lead and we'll get on with the job of telling you how our week has gone. So once again, I've got the privilege of standing here as a very proud workshop lead. The RPIW team, who will all introduce themselves, have committed every minute of this workshop to exploring the opportunities to make a difference. But they forgot my instruction that they could put their phones onto silent. But yeah, we've had a giggle as well as the week's gone on, which has been really important because you need that fun and energy to make the actions really happen. And at the beginning of the week, I really did see the level of experience, passion and commitment within this team. And it's no mean feat, is it, to propose thank you, Carol, to change the way medical and nursing staff work in ED in another week when there is incredibly high levels of activity going through that department. The engagement they've received from a wide range of departments has made their work possible. So everybody that has helped this week, we are really grateful, and it's been truly impressive. So I'm going to hand to Nick and just point out that our team on the left have looked at the boundaries of the working in ED from when I arrive as a patient to when I'm ready to be seen. And I have to say thank you to Nick as a team lead, who has given us every minute this week to try and help the team convert their many, many ideas into joined up, collective, considered ideas to test. So thank you, Nick.
Thank you very much. Okay, so should I introduce myself? So my name is Nick Holding. I'm the senior specialist in the Kaiser Promotion Office. And as Cathy said, it's been my real pleasure this week to be the team lead with these guys for this RPIW. The team have worked towards a set of key metrics which were set by our sponsor, Carol, and is focused on improving the process and reducing waste. The sponsor set these challenging targets against these metrics to focus on during the week and to achieve within 90 days. So these metrics are the walking distance for a HCA and clinical decision maker, and these were seen as a barrier to flow. The HCA was walking a distance of 230 steps, and the clinical decision maker took 62 steps in order to complete their tasks. The targets for both of these were to reduce by half. The lead time for our patients from arrival in ED to being ready for a clinical examination was over 2.5 hours. Our target was to reduce this to just 25 minutes. The total wait time for our patients was 126 minutes, meaning only 17 minutes was time when something was happening for them. Our target was to reduce this to just 8 minutes. Our initial observations highlight a number of defects in the process. 100% of patients had their privacy and dignity compromised while waiting for the examination. 90% of patients who presented with a pain score greater than 5 did not receive adequate pain relief within 30 minutes. 76% of attendees did not respond to the friends and family test, and of those of those responses, only 5% were negative. All metric defects have a 0 compliance target. 5S levels for the examination cubicle were level 1 with a target to improve to level 4. And finally, set up time to transfer the CAS cards from its creation and reception to delivery to the streaming nurse was 26 minutes, with a target to reduce to less than 10 minutes. We calculate tact time by taking the time available and divided by demand. Our tact time was 10 minutes, which is the pace that the team should work to. The current state value stream map here shows the journey of our patient who is streamed in the emergency department in Princess Royal Hospital. The process boundaries are from arrival in ED to when the patient is ready for a clinical examination. The Kaizen bursts, which are opportunities for improvement shown here in the clouds, shows where we find waste in the process, and the numbers in between the cycle boxes shows delays and waits. The overall lead time for this value stream was 143 minutes, which only 6% was value adding. Good follow-up.
Hello, my name is Adam Huxley. I'm one of the co-process owners. On Monday afternoon, we created a process flowchart which documents the current state process. The pink post-its show where the waste is. The future state process flow now shows that most of those wastes have now been removed and the process steps reduced. The future state value stream map shows that the majority of the Kaizen bursts have been removed, and we will now focus on what is left. Overall, the lead time for the patient has reduced and the value-adding activity for the patients has increased. So what was the problem? Patients arriving in the emergency department were having to queue and wait before and after being booked in and streamed. There was a lot of walking by both the patients and the staff, and the movement of the patient record, known as the CAS card, was also more than necessary, which caused patient delays. The setup of the waiting room was also variable and not patient-friendly or focused. We decided what is the idea to solve the problem? We decided to locate the receptionist and the streaming nurse in the same room to remove some of the delays and unnecessary motion and transportation of the CAS card. In addition to this, we removed the racking in the previous reception area and moved it into the main department. We also put yellow seats for those patients arriving to queue on and standardised the waiting room seating. We moved unnecessary signage and relocated the vending machines in the department. We tested to see if the overall lead time had been reduced, which it had, from 143 minutes to 81 minutes. We tested the total wait time of the patients, and this had reduced from 126 minutes to 42 minutes. We also timed the CAS card journey from the receptionist to the streaming nurse, and this reduced from 26 minutes to just 32 seconds. We also wanted to clearly define what streaming means to everyone. Our definition is the 90-second assessment to determine the level of urgency and to therefore enable the next step and movement of a patient to the most appropriate location and clinician.
Hello, my name's Cathy Goff and I'm the reception manager. In the beginning of the process, the receptionist was separate from the streaming room. Booking in was always done first, about 20 metres away at the other side of the waiting room. What we wanted to do was to bring the two areas together in the streaming room. At first, the receptionists were quite negative because of lone working and patient confidentiality. To make this happen, we had to move the computers and printers, and we were quite lucky with the help of Pri from Danwood and Ken and Roland from IT. This happened quite quickly. We needed to make sure the desks were at the correct height and they were fit for the purpose in hand. We also needed to make sure the security was good, enough for the doors to be locked at night. As soon as we had set everything up, we moved the receptionist across to the streaming room. After a short while, the staff soon realised it wasn't as bad as they expected. Although we've made a positive step forward for the patient, I feel that we still have a lot of work to do to improve the flow of the main office and the total flow through time.
Hello, my name is Ben Stevenson. I'm a healthcare assistant and tracker within the ED department here at the Princess Royal. What was the problem? We found that the tracker was updating the computer, not improving the flow or updating staff and assisting staff within the ED department. The streaming HCA was not clear on their job description and was pulled and used in multiple areas within the department. And there was a wide variety and skill set of the healthcare assistant and therefore what investigations could be done. Solving the problem, we had the idea to create a standard work for the tracker and the streaming HCA. And how we tested the solution. Firstly, we looked at the current job description of the tracker, streaming HCA as a group, and with the home team down on the department. We identified difficulties encountered by the staff through their feedback. And by focusing on patients' experience along with the staff feedback, we created draft versions of a standard of work, and now we have a final version of a standard of work for the outlining the trackers standard and the streaming HCA standard and the skills map for the HCA. The results of this, what we achieved was clear support and guidance for the HCA and tracker, and we've improved the flow slightly in just 1 week. I'm personally, on a final note, really looking forward to continuing to improve flow, guidance and supporting my colleagues, the HCA team and the tracker team down on the department to continue to improve flow, experience through the department. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Michelle Murray. I'm one of the senior staff nurses in A&E at Telford. The problem that I looked at was the variation in the streaming process depending on which person is carrying it out, and the fact that there's no clear separation of minors and majors patients arriving via the front door. The idea about solving the problem was a discussion around different pathways that we could use for all the patients arriving via the front door, and that was a multidisciplinary team discussion, and that we wanted to create a clear definition between majors and minors patients. To test it, we looked at what works in other departments, and we got feedback from the staff as the week went on around the new process and adapted it accordingly as we went along, and this will continue to be ongoing as the process is tweaked. The results are there's clear guidelines now developed for the streaming nurse and HCA, and a standardisation for staff and patients, which long term will improve both staff and patient experience. And a clear list of who are classed as minors patients, and we realised in this scenario that the HCA's role is pivotal, and without them that streaming cannot happen. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Karen Curtin and I'm a sister in ED at Royal Shrewsbury Hospital. So we needed to reduce the amount of time it takes to book in and assess a patient attending the emergency department in order that they receive the correct treatment and care in a timely manner by the appropriate member of staff. The current tool used for streaming patients is on a loose A4 sheet of paper which could easily become separated from the CAS card. We have therefore developed a smaller streaming sticker which can be completed by the streaming nurse while the receptionist is inputting patient details and producing the CAS card. This sticker can then be stuck into the CAS card. The streaming sticker contains visual prompts in the form of a flow chart in order to direct the patient to the appropriate area to be seen by a clinician. It also contains a tick list to plan interventions to be carried out by the streaming HCA and facilitates the 90-second assessment. And the feedback that we've had from this already has been really good. Another problem we highlighted was the low compliance with the completion of FFTs or friends and family testing by patients and their relatives, which leads to a lack of good quality feedback. We've therefore created a clear designated area for FFTs with the possibility for an electronic version on an iPad as used in the minor injuries unit in Oswestry. This centralised FFT station on their way out is much clearer for patients. This is an ongoing project which will be monitored on a day-to-day basis, and once it becomes electronic we will be able to get patients' feedback quickly and efficiently.
Good afternoon, my name's Alex Brett and I'm Deputy Workforce Director here at the Trust. Our friends and family test feedback suggests that patients who are in pain don't always have appropriate analgesia on arrival or are sometimes not offered this. In addition, there's no process in place to enable those in severe pain to have stronger analgesia immediately. The pain assessment on arrival has now been incorporated into the standard work when streaming and also into the new streaming sticker that Karen just talked about. We're also aware from asking patients and the feedback that we've received during this week that not everyone knows what to expect during their pathway through the ED department and where they are in the process. Using standard work, we created a 5-step pathway, a simple visual tool to inform patients of what will happen whilst they're in the department. We tested this out, and with a few minor tweaks, feedback suggests it's very useful to inform patients about their journey.
Hello, my name is Mr. Subramanian Kumaran. I'm one of the ED consultants. We managed to do all these things, and we speeded the process by which ED cards kept to the department. And then we realized we haven't separated them physically. So it created a bit of a chaos. It didn't help the flow. What did we do? The KPO team came and said, use the PDSA. So we did the PDSA, we planned something and created a new rack to put the minor cards in the minor area so that it's all completely separated. Patients can be seen quickly. Went back to see the feedback. As usual, it can't work, this happened there. And one of the comment came as it looked like a dog's dinner. So we went back, readjusted the rack, did something, good feedback. And our third day today, I was told that it's working well, everybody likes it, it's progressing well there. Then we looked at the major cards because it still stayed in the major area, away from the coordinator. There is a bit of a safety issue still there. So we thought this needs to be along with the coordinator. So then we looked at again PDSA went there, how to do that racking system. The team came up with the idea, let's bring a trolley and do it, like in the ward. So I went to a couple of wards to see whether I can borrow a trolley. Nobody gave me one. Came back, team members, very good, teamwork. They put a global email. Within an hour, we got a trolley. The trolley came in, so we started, but we started only yesterday evening with that. And the feedback, it won't work, it's not right. So we are going to persevere with what we had experienced in 3 days in the minor area. We will see whether we need to keep continuously adjusting it to make it work. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Laura Wynne. I'm the ED manager and process owner of this RPIW. Through idea forms that were given out to the staff prior to this week, it was identified there was a lack of setup in the minor cubicles and in an equipment trolley that was standardised across the whole department for all patients, including majors. We 5S'd the cubicle, focusing on the equipment trolley, which was sorted, simplified, swept, standardised, and with an aim to self-discipline. Waste was removed and the necessary from the unnecessary items identified. We took one trolley to do this and left feedback sheets for the staff throughout the week. The trolley was 5S'd, relabelled, and a standard sheet attached for ease of restocking. It will be restocked each day by the nursing staff and a housekeeper and monitored for further changes that may be required. There is more work to do around standard work for the minor staff to ensure compliance and reliability. We went from a level 1 to a level 3 on the 5S achievement grid, and the 5S form has now been displayed on a new People Link board in the staff room. This comprises of staff news and patient-focused news with an opportunity for idea forms to be completed by the staff for further continuous work. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Natasha, a receptionist in the ED. The problems we found was that clinical staff were unsure if cubicles were available to use. This meant that they had to go up and down the minor corridor looking for a space to see a patient. Equipment was not always easily available for teams to access, resulting in a waste of motion for staff. And patients were not always sure where they were meant to go. The idea was to create visual controls and elements of mistake-proofing. Using plan, do, study and act cycles, we tested a number of visual controls for cubicles to indicate if they were available to use. Specific locations have been created for OB machines and a new linen trolley. The sublet waiting area has now been colour-coded in blue so patients can be directed to the blue area. Now staff's walk-in has been reduced and time isn't wasted looking for equipment. Available cubicles are more easily identified, improving the flow and reducing delays for patients and families. Thank you.
So we've had an intensive, to say the least, and brilliant week with this amazing team who have grasped the opportunity and realised the potential in this work. It's been a pleasure to work with such a committed group of people, and I'm pleased to be able to share with you now the results of their work. So in summary, we no longer expect our streaming HCA to walk 230 steps, having reduced this to just 46, an amazing 80% reduction. The clinical decision maker have had their steps reduced by 71% from 62 to 18. The lead time for the patient to arrive, be screened and be ready for their examination has reduced by over an hour to 81 minutes, a 43% reduction. And the overall wait time has been reduced by 67% to 42 minutes. 0% of patients now have their privacy and dignity compromised during the check-in and screening process. FFT responses have increased and negative responses have gone down. The working examination cubicle has improved 5S score from level 1 to level 3, and the setup time to create and pass on the CAS card to streaming has reduced by an incredible 98% to just 32 seconds.
For me, this week has been productive beyond all my expectations. As a team, we generated 64 ideas on Monday, and both the away team and the home team have embraced these. The groups have worked together, bringing further ideas in as the week has gone by, and I think I speak for both the teams when I say we're excited about the future work involved and what else we can achieve from this going forward. So the work continues beyond this week, and we continue to test and make further improvements. The newspaper lists a number of actions that myself and co-process owner Adam will complete over the next 30 days, and look forward to sharing these results with you. Thank you.
Okay, that just leaves me to share a reflection and a learning with you, and a few thank yous. So for me, I've seen that journey with the team of taking those individual experience, passion, energy, and turning it into collective team success for the benefit of our patients. So just want to thank you and say keep going, and we really do need to continue to support the team and the wider colleagues in the department to build on their achievements. So the learning that sprung to mind again for me was one that I've shared before, I think, is sometimes we need to step away from the problem to be able to see the solution, and that hit home again this week, very much so. But it also led me to think we needed to step away from the past to see the future. And we have to work through, we've tried it, it didn't work, we did this, it didn't work in the past, to be able to see what we learned from those failures in the past that offer us new opportunities in the future. And finally, thank yous to so many people. But on the screen behind are the main teams that we couldn't have done this without. So the education team, again, always help us to set the rooms up incredibly quickly and turn their functions round. We've had great help from Danwood, from Estates, from IT. We've had signs going up, painting being done, vending machines being moved in minutes rather than months. And Nikki's really supported in making sure that they've been left safe as well. And Claire was the previous owner of a notes trolley and responded to the call, so a great thank you to her. And so we're going to invite our sponsor up next.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much to the team for taking the time and doing the presentation as well. You did a fantastic job today, so well done for all of you. Just by way of some context, I think, obviously we've been talking about this for a little while now, and it's fantastic to see it come to fruition. But there were moments, you can imagine, that we were really daunted by the idea of taking so many of our ED team out in one fell swoop. It was inevitably going to have an impact on the department as a whole. And we knew that in doing it, it was absolutely the right thing to do, because it's reflective of what Cathy was saying, really. The team never have time, they never get that headspace, in particular more so than most clinical teams, really, because it's so frantic so often that having some time out is really crucial for that team to be able to make some changes and put some of those ideas they've had into fruition. But it wasn't without its challenges, and it absolutely couldn't have happened without the support of the team who were still functioning and working in the ED department on a daily basis. Not only were they carrying the bulk of the weight of the work, they were missing out on their biscuits, just so we're clear, and on a daily basis, and they were having to implement changes really quickly as well as doing everything else. So a massive thank you to those people as well. It's required support and commitment from the whole team to be able to do this, not just the teams in the departments, but the team across the whole trust. And I've been really impressed and really grateful for all the support the team have had. I couldn't believe it when they talked about painting one area in the department blue, and I came in the next day and it was done. So when I go home tonight and those tins of paints are still sitting in the garage for my bathroom that have been there for 6 weeks, you can imagine the conversation I'm having with my husband this evening, can't you? About what's possible and the art of the possible. So a massive thank you to everybody who stepped in. Without going over all of the results and things again, but if we just stop to reflect on the overall lead time, to reduce that, I think it was from 143 minutes when we started to 81 minutes. That's fantastic. The difference that makes to our patients on a daily basis will be phenomenal. None of us, we've all been to ED at some stage or other. Nobody wants to wait there for hours on end, do they? Especially when it's the time when you're in crisis. Very, very few people go to ED unless they really are. So that's a massive improvement for our patients. And I've been really inspired all week by every conversation, and all the feedback sessions have all focused on the patients. Sometimes, as Cathy reflected, to the detriment in some ways of the impact on our staff. And I'm really conscious of that, and that's definitely more work we need to do. Putting patients front and centre is absolutely the right thing. We need to make sure that we take all of our staff with us as well, and we make sure everything works and functions for them. So this is, though, where the challenge really starts now, isn't it? We've made a fantastic start. It's keeping this process going and moving on in our next bit of our improvement journey, because there is so much more that we can do, isn't it? Coming up with all the ideas and discussions that you've had, I think you've seen the art of the possible. So it's our job to help you and support you, and you will get all the support that you need from the care group senior team and, of course, colleagues across the wider trust as well. So thank you. And thank you also to Cathy and her team for stepping in, doing this so rapidly and so quickly, and all the additional support outside of the usual confines. But it's been fantastic, so thank you. It's been really, really positive. Thank you all.
I don't know where to start. Wow. I'm Debbie Cadden, Chief Operating Officer for the Trust, and I'm the exec sponsor of this RPIW. So this is the first time that we've done an RPIW by itself outside of a value stream. So that's a first for us as a trust. and I'm sure that we'll do some reflection on the learning that we've had from that. That also means that in the competition about who's got the best value stream, I'm now streaks ahead because I've got a value stream and an RPIW by itself, and I can see Tony at Shrewsbury, so no pressure there, Tony and Edwin, but I thought I'd just get this in. So some of the things that I wanted to tease out were not just the blue wall, but I wondered where you got the yellow seats from. Where did they come from? Right. Okay. So the things that you did in that week just demonstrate the impact that this has not just on the department, but the whole team effort across the whole of the site that has enabled you to make these changes. And the work continues, as Carol says, over the next 30 days for testing and trialling. But the one thing that, I looked at was, yes, we are seeing patients much quicker, but from the pain score to go from 100% of patients not having their analgesia when they needed it in a week to not a single one is absolutely amazing. And when you think, I'm looking at Kate, when you think about what is important to patients when they come into ED. So the improvements that you made are absolutely incredible. And I just to repeat what Carol says, I think our anxiety at the beginning of the week was, could we hold the line and you not be sucked back into the department when it's so busy? And we managed it. So really well done to everybody. And again, thank you very much for doing that. One of the things that, a new phrase that I learnt this week was, and I hope I get it right because Richard gave it me, was muring. Is it muring? Muri. Thank you, Muri. And Muri talks about the waste of unreasonable expectation. And we talked with the team at the beginning of the week about how much waste of unreasonable expectation we have, not only, within an ED department, but actually I think as a trust and the NHS in total, because so often improvements are given to us. You must do this. This is the way to do it. And we spend hours and hours trying to do it. We've had, for those of you who don't know, the National Emergency Care Improvement Programme come in to see us at least 3 times. We have a national improvement programme where there's 5 things that you must do and it will improve for our performance. And we've consistently tried to do all these things. And we struggle because actually they haven't been making a difference. And what you've done this week is actually we've done improvements that have made a difference to the patients in our county. And that's what it's about. So this whole programme of work that we're doing, which is lifelong, is about unpicking the processes with the staff who know those processes the best and looking at the improvements that can be made. And the real key for us is that when we try and we test it, we then keep measuring it. And we see it time and time again when we do this value stream work in the RPIWs, that when we do it this way, it sticks. So I'm particularly looking at Kate here from Health Watch, who frequently come in, don't you, Kate, to look at the experience of our patients, that I would be able to stand here at least before I leave, Kate, because the 90 days measurements will be probably there or thereabouts, where we're able to stand here in 90 days and report out and to say that the improvements we've made have stuck and actually we've gone over and beyond it. And that when you do your surveys for us, the patient experience is absolutely where we would want it to be. So once again, thank you so much to the teams. I think I have certificates to give out.
So for those of you who don't know me, and there probably aren't many, I'm Kate Bellinger, Chief Officer of Health Watch Telford and Wrekin. You'll know that I've spent quite a bit of time in A&E recently on a piece of work we were doing for the CCG. The thing that's impressed me more than anything today is the speed you've turned this round and the fact that the patient experience has been right at the middle of that. Because waiting in pain is not fun for anybody. The other thing that has really made an impression on me is reciting those vending machines. Because they're not on people's walk out of the unit anymore. So if they go out in a state of whatever. They're not there to kick as they walk towards the door, are they? And the biggest feedback we got from patients was the inability to get a cold drink while they were sitting in that waiting room. So hopefully that, which may seem really small part of what you've done, as far as patient experience sitting in that waiting room goes, will make a massive difference if they're working now you've moved them. So thank you very much.
Okay, so some certificates to give out if you'd like to come up, but also just a final thank you to Carol as sponsor, KPO team as usual, but setting challenging targets, Carol, and keeping the team going. Thank you.
Can I just before Debbie starts to hand the certificates, the team wanted me to thank Mr. Alan Lehman, who's gone to help a colleague at the moment. But they said this morning, when they reflected on what they'd learned and what they'd learned about each other, that they wanted to thank him for his active listening this week and his contribution to multidisciplinary team working and decision making. So they wanted me to say that. So we'll make sure he gets his certificate later.
Okay, so we have Adam.
Adam. Well done, Adam.
And you've heard many times already today that their team couldn't have done this without honest feedback from the team. So on behalf of the home team, Kaylee, staff nurse, is here to receive the certificate and take it back.
Thank you.